everyone, welcome back to Fueled by Truth, where we talk about all things health and fitness and how to honor and glorify the Lord in that. I'm your host, Chloe Fisher, and I am excited to be back on this podcast. I'm sorry that there was no episode last week. My parents actually were in town last week. They came in town on Thursday from Arizona and then left yesterday, so Tuesday. And I just needed to get the house ready for them, and I just didn't have time to film an episode, and so I'm really sorry about that, but I'm glad to be back, glad to have an episode come out this week. But it was honestly really fun having my parents around. We ended up going to Lake of the Ozarks last week, or like this just past weekend, which was so fun, and we went on a few hikes, which I did not know that the Ozarks had like hiking trails, so it was really fun to get to explore more of that. And we just walked around, and we spent like 2 days there, spent a night there, and it was really, really fun. And so it was me, my husband, and then my parents all went, and it was really fun. We all enjoyed it. But I will say I'm also a little tired because we've been staying up pretty late the past 4 days. So I'm a little tired, but we're here, and yeah. And so that was just really fun getting to have my parents around, and it was the first time them coming to see our house, and they've been here to Kansas a few times, but it was just fun getting to just see them again after a few months. So I'm just kind of recovering from that a little bit, but for today's episode, I'm actually going to be talking about something pretty vulnerable and something that not a lot of people know about. And it's not that I don't want to share it, because I'm pretty open to sharing it. Like, if you were to ask me what my testimony is, like, I will gladly share that because it's part of my testimony and such a big part of my journey with the Lord. It's just something that I haven't really shared a lot of, and I just have felt that nudge from the Lord just on my heart to talk about it. And one of the reasons why I started the podcast was to help you guys just grow in your identity with the Lord and grow just and be more confident in the Lord and who He created you to be and how He created you to look. And that's such a big part of my story with the Lord. And so I'm going to be talking about my eating disorder that I had. And so I don't know if anyone out there who's listening has gone through this or is going through this right now. But this is, like I said before, this is such a big part of my testimony and such a big part of my journey and walk with the Lord. And so I hope that this episode will help. Please take what I say with a grain of salt. This episode is just me going to be sharing my experience with my eating disorder and just a little bit of what God taught me. And then I'm hoping to share more of this story with you in the next few episodes that will be coming out soon. And so I hope that this will just help anyone out there that is going through the same thing or that went through the same thing and is still struggling a little bit. And so I hope this helps. Again, take what I say with a grain of salt, bring it up to the Lord in prayer. And with what I say, this is my own journey with the Lord. Yours might look different. Please don't compare my journey with the Lord and where I'm at now with your journey with the Lord, especially with something like this. Because this took me a long time to understand. It took a long time for me to finally get out of my eating disorder and finally be confident in who God created me to be, and how He created me to look. And so don't compare my experience to your experience or anything like that. So I just wanted to preface that before we jump in, but since we have a lot to talk about, let's kind of just dive right in. And again, I hope this helps anyone out there who's listening or watching. Okay, so it all started when I was 14 or 15 years old, and I remember I was starting my freshman year of high school, and I've played soccer my whole life. I've shared on this podcast. I've played soccer since I was 5. I don't play anymore, but I played since I was 5, and at when I started high school is when I was on a club team, and I was playing pretty competitive soccer at the time. And I remember I took a weight class, and this weight class was great. I mean, there was a weight trainer that was basically the teacher for the class. And so in this class, we were lifting weights and also doing soccer drills too. And my mom and I thought, well, this would be great to take because I needed an elective, and this would be great to take to help me get on the high school soccer team at my old high school, and to also just help me to just grow more of my soccer skills. And so I was like, okay, yeah, we'll do this. It'll be great. And at this point, wasn't like restricting myself of any food. I wasn't over exercising. But that's when this part of taking this class, that's kind of when it all started to happen, because I learned a lot about nutrition, which was great. And I thought the way that they taught the nutrition portion of this class was actually really great, because I learned more about like your macronutrients, which is your carbs, your healthy fats, and your lean proteins, and how to fuel your body properly for before and after games and practices, or after a training session, after lifting weights. And so that portion was great. And so they talked about that. There were just a few things in the class that I wish was taught better or done better, but that's okay. We're done with that. And also, I'm trying my best to remember all this because this feels so long ago, because I'm 23 now, and I'm talking about this when I was 14 or 15, and this happened when I was 14. So I'm trying to remember all the details that I can with this story, but we also lifted weights, and I hated lifting weights. This was not fun for me, not something I ever wanted to do. And but I took it because I took the class, but it was not my favorite. And so with all of that said, when I was learning about nutrition and lifting weights, the one reason why I hated lifting weights was because I believed the lie that if you lift weights, you're gonna get bulky like a guy. That is so not true. You will not. So, I mean, it depends on how you eat. If you ate a lot and if you ate a lot and you lifted heavy, yeah, maybe, but really, if you do lift weights and you're eating nutrient dense, like, you will not get bulky like a guy. That is such a lie. But I believe that, and I hated weights, and I had not lifted weights until this point. And so with all of that, and then learning more about nutrition, I was a little self-conscious of my body, and I ended up taking what I learned from that class, and this was my own mind. Like, no one really told me how I should eat, what I should eat, how I should move my body. No one ever really told me that. But I just being in that class and maybe seeing some other girls who were lifting heavier than me, I got a little more self-conscious of my body. And I took the nutrition that I was learning in that class and decided to go to the extreme of it in an unhealthy way, of basically defining what I thought good foods were and what quote unquote bad foods were. And I just want to preface, there are no such thing as good and bad foods. There are foods that will maybe make you feel a bit better, and there's other foods that maybe won't. But something I'll say, and I'll probably keep saying this in this episode, is that balance is key. It's okay to have a cookie every once in a while. It's okay to have a cookie, like 1 or 2 cookies a day. It's okay to have a cookie like 3 times a week. Like, that's okay. And yeah, like, that's okay. Like, balance truly is key and so important with your health. And so what I did was, so I classified, like, okay, these foods are good, these foods are bad. And basically, and something that I did was I'm glad that I did not really cut out carbs. I actually really liked carbs, and I'm grateful that I didn't cut that out because at the time I was moving my body so much. I lifted weights, and that was pretty much every single day, Monday through Friday. Sometimes 2 hours. Like I would say like probably once a week, I lifted weights for 2 hours. And then every other day, it was for like an hour, I lifted weights. Every single day, Monday through Friday. And then I had soccer practice Monday through Friday, and then games during the weekend. Sometimes I had games on Friday through Sunday. Sometimes it was Saturday through Sunday. Sometimes I was in tournaments. And so I was moving my body every single day, and I would get some rest days of not having practice, but that was pretty rare, especially on a club team. If you've ever played on a club team with whatever sport, you know it's a lot of work, and you are basically working every single day nonstop. Because it's competitive. And so I was moving my body so much. And so the way I was eating, I was not consuming enough nutrients that my body needed for how much I was moving my body, if that makes sense. And so I wasn't cutting out carbs, which was nice, but I just wasn't eating enough for my body. So then from taking that class and trying to stay healthy or be healthy, I completely restricted myself from a lot of foods. I restricted myself from desserts, and then I would literally force myself to not have a dessert Monday through, like, literally during the week. Even if I wanted it, I would say, nope, that's reserved for only the weekends. And then on the weekends, I would pick one day, whether it's a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, to have a dessert, and I would completely binge on that dessert. And that was also not good because, and that also wasn't good because I was restricting myself of wanting to eat something and saying no, and then saying, okay, on this day, on Saturday, I can have this dessert, and like literally just eating so much. And then to a point where I didn't really feel all that well. And so I was completely restricting my body, completely trying to stay healthy in a way when it just wasn't. And I will say something that didn't help was being on social media, having Instagram. That did not really help. And I was 14, probably 15 at this point, and I had social media when I was 13, and I didn't really understand social media or the impact it could have on your mental health, but I think at this point, I honestly don't know if I was still 14 or 15 at this point. I think I was maybe 15, and I had Instagram and social media, and I was just following all these health fitness influencer people and trying to, in a way, copy what they were doing and put that into my own life, which didn't work because different body types and just different lifestyles. And I was and so different lifestyles. And so that wasn't really working. And I was just trying to understand, okay, how can I be healthy? And from following health influencer people, and so from taking that weight class in my high school, like I said, I was self-conscious of my body. And I thought that, and this is so bad, I thought that the only way that people were going to like me, or the only way I was ever going to be beautiful, was if I was super skinny. That if I was underweight or at a certain weight. And so from just not eating enough nutrients that my body needed, I ended up losing a lot of weight that I shouldn't have. And I was just so wrapped up in how I looked, in what I was eating, that I was consumed in it. And at this point, I did not know the Lord either. Throughout my whole high school journey of this, I did not know the Lord. And I was just so focused on what other people and how other people saw me and looked at me. And I like literally every single day at this point, every single day, what was on my mind, literally from freshman year to senior year of high school, food was on my mind of, okay, what am I going to eat when I get home? What am I going to eat for lunch? What am I going to eat for breakfast? And how is this going to make me look? And I, like, after a meal, whether it was, no matter what I ate, I would go in the mirror and I would look at myself and see, okay, should I be upset at myself for what I ate, or am I okay? And that is so bad, because we should never we should never get upset at ourselves for eating food. We should never get upset at ourselves for eating food. Never. Because food is fuel. I don't know if you guys have ever heard that, but food is fuel. God created food to fuel our bodies. And yes, now in like the culture we live in now, like there are a lot of more processed foods, but there's also some really good nutrient-dense foods out there. So we should never have to beat ourselves up for something we ate, whether it's eating a salad, whether it's eating pasta, whether it's eating a rice bowl or ice cream or cookies or cake or whatever. Like, we should never beat ourselves up for that. God created food to fuel our body, not so that we could restrict ourselves or get upset at ourselves for what we ate. And I was doing that. I was getting upset at myself for whatever food I ate. And just literally looking at myself up and down the mirror. And that was really, like, honestly looking back, I'm like, I'm so sad for myself that I did that, because God created me so beautiful. He created you so beautiful. And obviously I don't look like you and you don't look like me. And I think that just shows the intentionality of God and how he created us, and just how he took the time to make us all so unique. Because he could have all created us to look all the same. But I don't know if that would have showed God's uniqueness as much as it does now, with all of us looking so different. But something that took me so long to believe is that you are beautiful no matter how you look. You are. Like, something that, I'm kind of getting a little off track, but something I'll say is this past weekend, I didn't really work out as much as I normally do. And I also ate some foods that I don't normally eat as often. But honestly, I'm so grateful I ate those foods. And something that the Lord was speaking to me, because I was just praying to the Lord that I would continue to see myself the way that he does, no matter what I ate, no matter how I ate this weekend. And something that he was just teaching me through that, and something that just came in my mind, was that I think this was a Saturday. We went out to eat at a restaurant, and it was really cool. There was a band, and the food was awesome, and our waitress was awesome. She was so sweet. But I had a pizza, and then we ended up getting a dessert, and it was like a brownie pizookie thing. And if you don't know what pizookie is, it's basically a cookie-sized pizza, and there's ice cream on top, but it was with a brownie, and it was so good. One of the best I've ever had. And it was so, 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 so good. And I don't normally eat like that. Like, I love ice cream. I'll eat that, and I'll have the pizza or whatever. But honestly, I enjoyed it. It was really good. But I ate that, and then I was like, you know what? Like, I don't need to beat myself up for that. It was great. It was delicious. I'm glad I ate it. And it was great. And then the next day I woke up and I was like, my body didn't change. I don't look any different than I did the day before. And that really hit me, where I was like, so it's not the food that defines how beautiful I am. It's not the exercise that I do that defines how beautiful I am. What defines how beautiful I am is God, and only God. And I will say, that has taken me so long to realize and to remember and to actually believe, if I'm being honest. because every time I would eat a dessert, I thought, okay, I need to go run after, or I need to go and do this extreme exercise, or I need to not eat dessert for an entire week. And I thought that if I ate that dessert, or if I ate too much that day, then I was gonna look different immediately. That whether I was gonna look a little more bloated or bigger or whatever. All these lies. And this past weekend, I woke up the next day after having the pizza and that dessert and being like, I literally look the same that I did before. Then I literally look the same as I did the day before. And that just really clicked in my mind, where I'm like, the Lord is truly the one that defines how I look, because he's the one who created me, and he's the one who created me so beautiful. And so I got a little off topic there, but a little off track, but that's just something that has taken me so long to remember. And I did not believe that when I was going through this. Obviously, I didn't know the Lord. I didn't have a relationship with him. And so what I only knew was to just try to do everything on my own, to try to look for fixes in the world, because that's all I knew. And so I just hope that helps someone who's maybe struggling with that, and hopefully that helped someone out there. But back to what I was saying, and so I really cared more about how other people saw me, how other people viewed me. And so then that led me down into a deeper hole of wanting to keep doing this, keep being in this vicious cycle of restricting myself of foods, of underfueling, of over-exercising, just so I could keep this appearance up so other people would like me. But here's a shocker. Here's something that shocked me way later down the road, is that a lot of people don't care how you look. And I don't want you to think after you hear that and think, okay, then that means I'm not beautiful. No, what that means is that you are still beautiful, but what it means is that your worth isn't found in how other people view you. Your worth is found in Christ, and how God views you, and how God created you. And if God created you so beautiful, which he did, then that should be your worth. Then that should be where your worth comes from. So then it shouldn't matter how other people see you. It shouldn't matter what you look like on the outside, because if your worth is found in Christ, then it won't matter how you look on the outside, because God cares more about your heart. He cares more about your character than how you look on the outside. And that's not to say that you're not beautiful, because you are, because God's the one who created you, and he creates only good and beautiful things. But what it means is that your beauty on the outside comes from the inside first. And so that took me a long time to realize and to actually believe and see with my own eyes that that's true. And so I was so caught up in how other people saw me. And I was in this vicious cycle for a long, long time. I mean, like I said, I'm 23, and this all started when I was 14. And I mean, my whole relationship with food really started to heal and get better when I was 21. When I was 18, 19? Yeah, 18. But I'll get to that in a little bit. And so just throughout high school, and so that was my freshman year of going through that eating disorder. And that lasted a few months. But from doing that, from restricting myself for so long and just focusing so much on food and my body and what I was putting in my body, and focusing so much on wanting just to keep exercising like I would not give myself a break or a rest. And it was kind of hard when I had practice every single day and lifting weights every single day at school. But then even when I did have a break, I wanted to move my body and exercise and do all that stuff because I thought I had to, not because I enjoyed it. And so from doing that whole eating disorder lasted a few months. but there was a lot of other things that I still had to deal with even after this. Like from the eating disorder, because I was under fueling my body, I lost my period. And if this is a little TMI for anyone listening, you can skip this little part, but I lost my period. And it honestly took probably a year to get it back. It took a while. I got it back, I believe, during my junior year of high school. It was pretty early on my junior year of high school when I finally got my period back. And I was so excited. And at this point, I didn't know the Lord either, but I was just saying, thank you, thank you, thank you. And just so happy I got my period back. Because I didn't know if I ever was going to, because of how much I restricted myself. And so so at that point, why I stopped the eating disorder was more of a fear of just not wanting to do this anymore, because like my parents talked to me and noticed something was wrong, because I honestly thought what I was doing with my body and everything was okay, because I looked great. In some ways I thought I felt great and I looked great, and I thought, okay, this is great, this is healthy, I'm doing fine. And then my parents talked to me and I realized, oh, this actually isn't as healthy as I thought. Because my parents were scared for me, and rightfully so. And then I got scared because I'm like, okay, well then what's gonna happen to me? Like, this isn't healthy anymore. And so out of a fear, I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And so I ended up starting to feel myself a little bit better. And at that point, I just ate whatever. I ate more protein, I ate more carbs, and I was just feeling myself a lot better. But deep down, the root issue still wasn't healed, because I still didn't know the Lord at the time. And I was still having to work on, and because then I was still consumed in my body, and I was still consumed in what I ate. Like, I remember when I wasn't really restricting myself anymore, I remember I would go to a restaurant, but before going to the restaurant, I would look up the menu and I'd be like, okay, what's the most healthy thing in my mind at this restaurant that I can eat? And a lot of times at some of the restaurants, I would eat salads. I would get a salad because I was like, that's the most healthy thing. Even if I wanted something different, I would get the salad. And it's kind of funny because now I actually enjoy salads. But I'll get a lot more toppings on there than I did last time. But it's really funny now how I would get a salad because I thought it was healthy, and now I actually enjoy them. But anyway, side note. But and so the root issue still hadn't changed, but I wasn't restricting myself anymore. And so, excuse me, and so I went through that and started to really understand more of how to fuel my body the way that I knew how, and I did a lot more research, and I was still on social media, still following health influencers, still trying to just understand, okay, what does health actually mean? And again, it took me a long time to actually understand what's actually healthy. And I will say health is so diverse because everyone's body is so different. Like, we were all created by the same God, the King of the universe, who created everything and everyone. But our bodies are all so different. Like, some people are gluten sensitive, some people are gluten free, some people are dairy free. Like, our bodies are all so different into what foods work and don't work for our bodies. And so at this point, my sophomore year and junior year and even senior year of high school, I was really working on just trying to figure out, okay, what's healthy? And what does health actually mean? And what does that look like for my lifestyle? What does it look like for my body? And I, at this point, again, didn't know the Lord. And so I was just trying to find solutions in the world because that's all I knew. And I was still struggling with like body image, because then after the eating disorder and then starting to feel my body a little bit better at consuming a lot more foods, my body started to change in ways where I'm like, oh, like my junior year of high school, I gained a lot more muscle, which was great because then I started to lift weights a little bit more and I started to actually enjoy lifting weights. But then I was like, my body's changing a little bit more. I'm gaining a little bit more muscle. I'm gaining a little bit more fat, which isn't bad, like I needed to, because I just was underfeeling my body for so long that I'm like, I need to get a little bit more fat on my body, I need to get more muscle on my body. And I was just going through that and I was like, okay, I look a lot different. And so then I was going through that spiral of, okay, I don't look like how I used to. Does that mean I'm not pretty anymore? And just, that vicious cycle of with mental health and all that. And something I'll say with an eating disorder is a lot of people think that it's all food related. But it's interesting because an eating disorder actually isn't food related at all. It's all mental health. Which is so interesting. And like I've said in this podcast, I went to school and got my degree in nutrition in college. And it's interesting because the more I took those nutrition classes, and there was a class I took about eating disorders, and the more I learned, and there's a guest speaker and she was great, and it was a lot. I learned, okay, this is actually a lot more about mental health than it is food. And so that's kind of why I'm talking about mental health with this too, is because an eating disorder and just like food avoidance stuff, like that's all mental health stuff. And so with all of this vicious cycle of this unhealthy mindset that I had with food and this unhealthy relationship I had with food, I was just really focusing more on my body, and that's when my body image insecurity started to come up because my body was changing and I was getting a little bit bigger, which again is okay because my body actually needed that. Like I needed to get a little bit bigger because my body needed the nutrients that it needed. And at this point I got my period back too, and so my hormones were very out of whack and they needed to get back in place, and so I needed to fuel my body more, and I just wasn't used to that. And so I was just going through this whole thing and trying, and just so consumed in my body, and just so consumed in figuring out, okay, what foods are actually healthy, and again, like in a way still having that mindset of these are my good foods, these are my bad foods. So bad, such a lie. So bad. So that was sophomore year, junior, and senior year of high school is when I was really going through that whole portion. And then freshman year of college was a little interesting with this, but also one of the best years of my life because I met the Lord. And in September of 2021, and I've shared about this journey a little bit in my testimony in my first episode. And if you want to hear more about that, you can go to my first podcast episode that I did, I think like 9-10 months ago, and I shared more about my testimony, and that's kind of where I shared a little bit about what I'm talking about now. But I got saved in September of 2021, and at this point I was still trying to, my relationship with food was a little bit better, but I was still trying to figure out food and health and fitness and what's working for my body. And so I was just in a very interesting spot with this. And again, like I said, this wasn't true. Like the root issue of this whole thing was not truly healed yet until I met the Lord. Because, so I got saved in September 2021. And I remember my freshman year of college, there was a lot of stress with schoolwork, and I was trying to figure out, okay, how do I be an adult but still in a way like rely on my parents for help and things like that, because like in college is such an interesting time because you feel like you're an adult, but at the same time you are still like needing your parents for help and things like that, and it's like you're not actually like truly an adult yet. It's so weird. But I was just navigating through that, and I was just navigating through how do I literally do this college life. And I remember I had a really bad stomach ache my freshman year of college, and this only lasted for I think a week. But so to kind of back up a little bit, I had this mindset, or something that I would do is if I had a lot to do, I would, and I really needed to get a lot of homework done, I would make myself not eat until I was done with the homework, because I was like, okay, it's going to take time to cook something, or it's going to take time to go get something, and I really need to get this homework done. And so my freshman year of college, I was taking some pretty hard classes, and I just had a lot of homework to do and a lot of things to do. And I was like, okay, once I get these homework assignments done, then I can go eat. But I almost used it as a reward system, when like food, again, should not be something that you reward yourself with. Food is fuel. Like, our bodies do need food. And God created food to fuel our bodies, not as a reward system, not to restrict ourselves from at all, but strictly to fuel our bodies. But I was almost in a way rewarding myself with a meal after I studied or after I did homework or whatever. And I remember I barely ate the past few days at this point, and I was on my way in the morning to go take an exam because I missed a class because I had something going on, and my professor was so sweet. I was able to take the exam, but I had to go take it in her office. And so I was on my way to do that. I grabbed a smoothie because it was early in the morning, and I lived in a dorm at the time, couldn't really make anything for breakfast, so I went to Jamba Juice and got a smoothie. And this is really interesting. Something I didn't really know is when you don't have a lot in your body, in your system, like food-wise, and you eat something very acidic, it will cause digestive issues. And I, like the past few days up to this point, I didn't really eat a lot, maybe like 1 or 2 meals a day. I know, like I did not eat a lot. It was so bad. And so then I had the smoothie, and I've gotten the smoothie so much, and at this point, this is like in December of 2021. And so I got saved in September of 2021. And then like a few months later is really when this whole thing that I'm gonna share happened. And I was, and this is like the beginning of December. And I decided and so I had the smoothie, and I've had the smoothie like for months now on campus, but it has pineapple in it. And pineapple is a very acidic fruit, very acidic food. And I just was taking a few sips of it, and then all of a sudden, my stomach starts to hurt so bad. And I'm like, what is going on? Why is my stomach hurting right now? Like, I have this smoothie every single day, and my stomach has never hurt before. And I'm just like, what is going on? And so I go and take the exam. My stomach is hurting. I'm like, I need to lay down right now. I finished the exam. I did not do the best on that exam. I don't even know what I got, but I know I did really bad on that exam because I was so focused on my stomach. And then I somehow managed to walk back, like a 10-minute walk back to my dorm room, and I just lay on the ground. I couldn't even get to my bed. I was just like, I'm laying down in my dorm room, laid down, and was like, what is going on? Like, it hurts so bad. And so then I call my friend. Thankfully, this was at like 7, 8 in the morning, and thankfully she was up, and I felt so bad. But I call her, and I'm like, hey, my stomach's hurting really bad. I can't get up off this floor. Can you please come here? I have no idea what's going on. And so she comes in, we talk about it, and then I end up going to the health clinic on campus. They give me some of these like stomach pill things to kind of ease the pain and help with that. And I kind of tell them what happened, tell them the situation. And it was just, and so then my stomach started to feel better after that, after I took a few. Stomach started to feel better. But this lasted for like a week. And that was a low point for me because I realized, okay, I can't keep doing this to myself. I can't keep restricting my body whenever I want from food. I can't use this as a reward system because I need to eat. And I can't pick and choose what foods are good and bad, because the Lord, like, God already did that. Like, I can't pick and choose what foods are good and bad when God created all foods to fuel our bodies. Even the desserts can fuel our bodies. And so I could not do that to myself anymore. And that was the point where I just hit rock bottom, and I was like, you know what? I can't do this to myself anymore. And so, and also at this point I was saved. I have the Holy Spirit in me at this point, and I was like, what is going on with myself? Why am I doing this to myself? And the Lord knew that this was still a deep-rooted issue in me, and so he was bringing this all up to the surface, showing me, hey, this isn't good anymore. This is not how I want you to treat the body that I gave you. I want you to treat it well by fueling your body with food, good, whole, natural foods, and eating. And so I was like, okay, this I can't do anymore. And I remember that switched when I was in my friend's dorm room, the same friend that I called when I had the stomach issues. I called her, and she's still one of my really great friends to this day. Love her so much. I'm in her dorm room, and I'm like forcing myself to eat at this point, and forcing myself to eat a bowl of soup. I'm laughing at this now because I'm like, why didn't I just eat the soup? And it's just so bad. I was just like, why didn't I eat the soup? And so, but it sounds so silly, but at that point I was like, I had to force myself to eat. And my friends were helping me with this too. And almost seems a little embarrassed that I'm telling you guys this, but I was forcing myself to eat a bowl of soup. And I remember I finished it, and I just bawl my eyes out. I'm just like, what is wrong with me? Like, why am I struggling with this so much? And my friend was in the room, she comforted me, and I was just like, I've hit rock bottom. Like, this is not how I want to feel my body. And I've been doing this for like 10 years. I've struggled with this for like 10 years. And I was like, I'm so done with this. And so that was the turning point where I was like, I can't do this to myself anymore. I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to restrict. I'm not going to use food as a reward system. Like, I truly want to fuel and treat my body as a temple for the Holy Spirit. And at that point, I didn't really understand what that meant. So I really did my research, and this really and so then that's when my relationship with food started to take a turn, started to really become a lot more healthier. And I think maybe I was 21 when it was the summer of 2023 when I really started to fuel my body a lot better, to exercise a little bit better, and to really start understanding that I am beautiful because God's the one who created me. And this is how God wanted to create me. He wanted to create me with curly hair. He wanted to create me with these types of eyebrows and these types of eyes, and with this nose, and with this mouth, and with these arms and legs and everything. And so that's really when I really started to see myself the way that God sees me. And even at that point, that took a while to really help me see myself the way that God sees me. And that took a lot of prayer and a lot of diving into his word, and just a lot of realizing I am beautiful because God says it in his word. And it took a long time to get to the point where I am even now, where I am a lot more confident in my body. And so December of 2021 is when I completely, in a way, cold turkey, was fully healed from my eating disorder. And when I say fully healed, where I wasn't really restricting myself anymore, and where I really was fueling my body properly. And it's interesting because and even after that point, like, it still took me a while to have a healthier relationship with food. And there are still times where I'm like, should I have the dessert? I don't know if I want dessert. Do I feel like having the dessert? And even now, like, I still will kind of like decide, should I have dessert right now or not? And I'm kind of at the point where I'm like, hey, if I am hungry still after dinner, like, I'll eat something. Whatever that looks like. Maybe it's a protein bar, maybe it is a dessert. Or if I'm like, you know what, I kind of want a dessert tonight or today, I'll go have one. Like yesterday, I have like some Oreo cookies at home. And yesterday I was like, you know what, I'm a little bit hungry and this was in the afternoon. And I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna have some cookies because that sounds really great right now. And I didn't overconsume on it. And I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna eat some cookies. And it was great because I thought when I was younger and when I was really deep into my eating disorder, I thought that I had to overindulge on a dessert because if I didn't, because I restricted myself, because I told myself I could only have a dessert once or twice a week. And so I thought, okay, I have to eat this whole dessert, or I have to go all out on this dessert and eat so much of it because I'm not going to be able to until the next week, which is so bad. And so that took me a long time to be like, dessert's okay to have, and I can have it if I want it now. I can have it later. It doesn't matter. And so yesterday I had those cookies and I was like, you know what? That sounds great. That took me so long to get to the point with that where I'm like, I can have a dessert. Like this whole weekend, I think I had dessert every single day. And that's okay. Like, that's okay to have a dessert every single day. Just don't overindulge on it. But that's okay. If that's a point where you're like, if you are restricting yourself right now and you're restricting yourself from desserts or what you think is unhealthy foods, it's okay to have that every single day to get you to be okay with realizing I can have a dessert whenever I want, and it can be multiple times a day, or it can be multiple times in a week that I have a dessert, and that's okay. But just realizing, like, you don't have to overindulge on the dessert. And so, like I said before, that took me so long, and so I share that just to tell you guys, like, it's okay to have the dessert. It's okay to have the hamburger or the pasta if that's what you're really feeling. So yeah. And so from that whole experience, that's again really when it started to click. And so then summer 2023 is really when I started to have a healthier relationship with food and just healthier relationship with moving my body. And I got more into running that summer too. And I really enjoy running now. And so with all of that said, and with sharing that experience and with my experiences, something I learned is that God created all of our bodies so beautiful. He created all of us how he wanted to. And something I love is that God was so intentional in how he created you, and so intentional in the details. And only such a good and wonderful God would take the time to create us how he wants to and create us so beautiful. And something that I want to read, and this is my favorite passage in God's word, and this is a passage and chapter that I clung onto in this time, and it's Psalm 139. And I won't read the whole thing, but I would recommend you going and reading the whole thing. It's 24 verses, and the title of it is Search Me, O God, and Know My Heart. And this psalm just shares so much of just how God created us and how much he knows us. And I'm going to read verses 13 through 14 because these verses I memorized and that have helped me in the time when I'm like, I don't really look that beautiful. I would recite these verses over myself, and it helped me just be reminded that, okay, I might not feel beautiful today, but it doesn't change the fact that God created me beautiful, so I am beautiful. And so it says in verses 13 through 14 of Psalm 139, "For you formed my inward parts, you knitted me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works, my soul knows it very well." And I love those verses because it just shows like God's the one that created me. He's the one who formed all of me, knitted me all together to make me look like this. And God didn't mess up in creating you. He did not mess up and be like, oh, the nose looks like that, we're just gonna leave it like that, and oh, the hair kind of turned out a little wavy, it's okay, we'll just leave it like that and see what happens. No, he thought of you before he created you. He thought of you and how you're gonna look and what type of hair you're gonna have, what color, what family you're gonna grow up in, and he created you so special and so beautiful. And like I said before, only a good God who creates such beautiful and wonderful things, who created the entire world, entire earth, entire universe, could create you so beautiful too. And so I would recommend you memorizing Psalm 139, reading it, writing it, taking notes on it, diving deep into that, because that is truly what helped me. And ultimately what helped me is the Lord. He's the one who healed me from this. He's the one who helped me from this. He's the one who showed me how he sees me. And that just took constant prayer, constant diving in his word, constant reliance and dependence on him. Because this didn't happen. Me being healed from this did not happen overnight. This is still something I need to pray to God about, to help me see myself the way that he sees me, to help me be okay that I'm eating this food, to be okay that I'm having a dessert tonight. Like, it's a constant dependence on the Lord that I truly need him to get me through all of this. So this wasn't a quick overnight one and done thing. Like, this took 10 years for me to really go through, for me to get to the point I am now. And I thought I would always be the girl who struggled with eating disorder. Like, that's what I thought, that's what other people would know me from. That's why I didn't really share it all that much. Even in high school, no one really knew that I struggled with this or went through this, except for my family. Like, I didn't even tell my friends about this because I was so hesitant in how other people were gonna see me and think of me. But the thing is, who cares about what other people think about you? Who cares? What matters more is how God thinks of you, how God sees you, what God thinks of you. And so I hope you take that away today, of just realizing that you are so beautiful. And I'm gonna pray us out and just pray over us, because this is a heavy topic. And I just hope that this helped someone out there who maybe is going through the same thing, or maybe is just struggling with this right now, or maybe went through this and is still struggling with some things about this. I hope this helped and that you were able to take something from this. And if you don't hear anything else from this podcast, if you don't hear anything else, but if something that you take away from this is something I want you to hear, is that God created you fearfully and wonderfully made, because he wanted to. He created you so intentionally. He smiled when he created you. Creating you brought him so much joy. And so I hope that you will rest in his promises, rest in his word, and just remember that you are beautiful and so loved by God. And how you look is how God wanted you to look. And to him, you are beautiful. And so I'm going to pray for us. And I just hope that this helped. But again, take what I say with a grain of salt. Pray to the Lord and depend on him, because he's truly the one that can help you through this. Okay, let me pray. Lord, thank you for today. Thank you for those that are listening to this podcast, Lord, to this episode. God, I just pray for the person that's listening to this episode who's going through an eating disorder or just going through something hard. Lord, I just pray that you would be with them, that you would remind them that they are beautiful. Would you remind them of your truth? Would they dive into your word? Would they just be completely consumed in you and being reminded of your truth in Psalm 139, that you truly did create them fearfully and wonderfully made, that there is no flaw in them and how you created them, and that you created them how you wanted them to look. And would you just remind them of that? Would they be able to see that when they see themselves in a mirror, in a video, in a picture? Would you help them to see what you see, God? And would they find joy in how you created them? And would they just know and believe that you created them beautifully? And so I just pray that in your precious and holy and mighty name, Jesus Christ. Amen. Your worth is not in how you look. It's not in the food that you eat. Your worth is strictly found in the Lord and only in the Lord. Again, I hope this helps, and I hope you're able to take something from this. And I'm going to, next week, I'm going to share just a little bit more about my journey with this and just share a little bit more, and there's going to be a few more topics about this, and so stay tuned for that. That's coming out next week. But just remember, how you look is how God wanted you to look. And just remember to stay rooted in God's truth, because when we're rooted in his truth is when we can truly fuel our bodies properly the way he wants us to. I love you all. I'll see you all next week, and just have a great rest of your day. Bye.